people will have so little knowledge of what the return of Christ was supposed to be like. I mean, do you know the signs that Jesus talks about that would accompany his return, what it was going to be like? You ever studied that? Ever studied the book of Revelation? I mean, even the book of Revelation gives us hints as to what the world is going to look like when Christ returns. And it gives us an idea so that we can be anticipating and waiting. And I know for some of you, the hard part is that you've heard this all your life. Some of you grew up in church and you would hear about signs about, oh, you know what, all this has been fulfilled. And you think, oh no, Christ could come this week. And so you get all ready, you get your life in order, then he doesn't come. You know, a few years later, someone else gives another talk, you get all fired, he still doesn't come. You see some current events, more things happening, he still isn't here, and you can start to get discouraged. Rather than getting more excited and more anxious about his coming, it kind of grows old because you think, wait a second, and I've heard this argument before, you know, but every generation since Christ left has thought that he was going to return. And I said, you're right, and I believe that God has constructed it in such a way. If you look at Scripture, it's like this. Suppose you know, imagine this is a table up here, okay? Let's say it's a dinner table. And you know, okay, it's about time to eat. And you know dinner's going to be coming at some point. And someone comes out and they put a tablecloth on it. And you think, all right, cool, dinner's coming. The food's going to be coming any minute. But then someone else comes out and they put, you know, silverware on the table, you know, napkins and forks and knives, and you go, okay, now the table is set. Dinner is going to come at any moment. This is so cool, you know. But then someone else comes out and he puts glasses on the table. And says, oh yeah, I forgot about the glasses. Okay, now the glasses are in place, so now I know dinner's going to come anytime. And you get all excited. And then someone else comes out and they put flowers on the table. And you think, oh yeah, I forgot about flowers. Okay, now it's really, really set. You know, the flowers are there, they're going to die. You know, dinner's got to be coming. But then, you know, then someone, you know, dims the lights and they, you know, turn on the music. And you think, oh, music. Okay, I forgot all about this. Okay, yeah. There's more that comes to this dinner. And then someone else comes out and they bring candles and they light them. And you go, okay, the candles are lit, the wax is dripping. Dinner has got to be coming soon. See, that's what's going on with prophecy. It's not that it wasn't ready. It's just like, you know, you look at it and you go, man, how much more ready can the world get for the return of Christ? I mean, from everything I understand of Scripture, it's like the table is set more than ever. 1948, you know, that was an amazing year, because that was the year that Israel became a nation again. And that was something that was impossible. I mean, from all human standards, you know, we look at it and just go, how in the world did Israel become a nation again? They hadn't been a nation in hundreds of years. They were obliterated, scattered all over the world, and then suddenly something happened that had never happened in the history of man. This nation comes together and gets their own land back. You just think, no way. And when you look at the you know, book of Revelation, you think, wait, and it seems like when the Messiah returns, it sure seems like he's going to Israel, and yet Israel didn't really exist as a nation. And so in 1948, people said, okay, it's set. Then in 1967, there was the Six-Day War. The Six-Day War, which was another supernatural event, because that should not have happened. That should not have worked. Israel should have been obliterated at that time. This tiny little nation that has just gotten together, and you got all these armies coming against it, they should be destroyed. Instead, they expand their boundaries. Study your history books. You go, no way. This should not have happened. There's no way that could have happened, but it did. So 1967, you start thinking, okay, now the stage is really set. But I remember, I mean, 67 was when I was born. And, but I remember when I was in high school, okay, and that's when I started getting to God, started learning about prophecy, and they would talk about Middle East, you know, and all this stuff would be centered in the Middle East. But at that time, it didn't make any sense to me. Because when I was in junior high school, everyone was talking about the U.S. and who? Russia, right? Those are the two major superpowers. And remember the big scare of, well, we can blow up the earth 4.5 times. They can blow it up 8 times. You know, with our nuclear weapons and this and that, we're all fearing that's the end of the world. And then we're trying to make Revelation fit and go, well, how does that fit? You know, how I thought it was going to be the Middle East, and no one cares about the Middle East. At that time, no one did, until the big oil embargo thing happened. And then the whole world realized, okay, if we don't get the oil from the Middle East, we're dust. Our whole world depends on their oil. And now suddenly everyone was looking at the Middle East, and little things that happened in Kuwait suddenly mattered to the whole world. And, you know, Desert Storm and all of that, it's put everyone's attention on the Middle East, a place that in many ways had been forgotten. And then now we look at 9/11 and everything that happened there, we go, wow, everything's heightened. You look at what's going on in the world today, everyone's looking at Israel. Why? Because God says that's the way it was going to be. And it's just this picture of, okay, it sure seems like this is the perfect time for someone to come along and bring peace to the Middle East, which is what it says. It sure seems like that's what it's saying in Revelation, that this world ruler would come and somehow bring peace to this conflict and gain the popularity of the people. That's what it seems to me like it's saying there in Scripture. Nah, I could be wrong, could be interpreting it wrong, but I just go, man, this table is set. Man, I don't know how much longer we can wait before we eat. You know, that food's coming. I really believe Jesus could come at any time.